Hey there, Taurus. Welcome to 7 Scorpion Tarot. I am your host with the most, and I want to welcome you to tonight's reading. So, tonight we are continuing on with the sign specific readings. This is something I'm just getting started on. I wanted to start getting to know the signs a little bit more, kind of tuning uh, in a little bit more of a granular fashion to what's going on in the celestial weather and whatnot. And it looks like right now, at least for your sign, Uranus in retrograde is what's in your sign right now. And that's an interesting placement, given the mythology behind Taurus being ruled by Venus and Uranus being Aphrodite's father. And that was an interesting myth in the way that she came to be, in that it was after Uranus was castrated by Kronos. And then when his blood hit the sea foam, that's where we got Aphrodite from. Uh, but for your reading tonight, I want to follow like what I did with Aries and do a reading for the self, the shadow, and the ego. Kind of see overall what might be going on in those different areas for you. And we'll start at that base and just kind of see how things go. So let's get some cards. And this is the Dark Crystal deck. Really enjoy this one. I know at the tail end of last week, there were a few transits, or at least a couple transits, with Mars going retrograde in Leo and then Neptune stationing direct, which I think was in Pisces? I think that was in Pisces. Pretty sure. I should know. Well, let's see. Let's get a card for the self. Let's see what's going on. Two of Vials in reverse. The Two of Cups in reverse. So maybe some of that Venusian energy is blocked. Some of those, healing connections, those rejuvenating connections. And Uranus is retrograde in your sign right now. That may be interesting. So, wasn't expecting this to get quite this deep. uh, are there archetypal father wounds that still need to be addressed, that are interfering with your connections? I don't know if you guys can hear that, but there's a siren going off outside. So I'm going to take that as confirmation, at least for some of us. Wow. Wasn't expecting that. But that's a heavy placement with Uranus and Taurus right now. Uh, so not all too terribly surprising. And I mean, take that how it resonates as well, because that could be maybe even not that specific, but is there wounding within the animus that needs to be addressed? And for those of you who may be new here, I'm utilizing a lot of Jungian terms And when I talk about the self, shadow, and ego, I'm talking about the Jungian map of the soul. So, is there something within the hiding within the animus that is blocked? Or maybe not even necessarily hiding, but something we're unwilling to look at? Because I have found that oftentimes, like as I'm going through therapy and things like that, when I come up on a solution to something or a realization or whatnot, it's generally not because I'm encountering something for the first time. It's something that I've seen before, and potentially my brain was protecting my mind from whatever that information was until I was capable of seeing it to where it wouldn't be destructive of to me to assess that wound, to acknowledge and assess that wound. Because some of those can be pretty deep and pretty hard to face. So let's get a card for the shadow. And these sign specific readings I do are a little bit more surface level than some of the collective ones I have. You'll see that just in the length of time on the timestamps of the videos, that the ones that say collective on my YouTube channel, those can be around an hour or more because I'm getting real deep into those. And then the sign specifics tend to be around 15-20 minutes. I'm trying to get on a more regular recording schedule. Just been a little busy. The Chariot. So the Chariot in the shadow, Cancer energy. Is that only one? Yeah. So movement. And I always think of like riddles as well, since in the Rider Waite, this card typically has two sphinx on it. You know, the is that the Odyssey? Pretty sure that was the Odyssey. Whatever. But the riddles of the Sphinx, there were two of them, at least two like famous ones. I'm sure depending on which piece of literature or video game or whatnot that you're engaged with, there's going to be a variety. But movement within the shadow. Hmm. And it's card number 7. I want to see what the author says for this description. Um. Nope, too far. Chariot, Gurjin. Let's have an adventure. It'll be great fun. Commandeering your reading faster than the Skeksis carriage, the Chariot has set a course for success. Bold Gurjin, yeah, Gurjin uses his defiance, determination, and courage to help start the rebellion. His presence is an assurance that you will also triumph, as long as you stay confident and focused. This is also giving some maybe archetypal father wounds with rebellion. That's what flagged in my mind. Because I know myself and plenty others have that experience of rebelling against our parents. And since this is in the shadow, maybe there's some wounding around the journey that rebelling more could have taken you on, or maybe you're cleaving off from familial expectation or perception of you. Oh, Fleetwood Mac, Go Your Own Way. That just popped in my head. Uh, Very shadowy in this position. Interesting. And regardless of your actual age, maybe it's like a coming of age stage for you. Start shuffling for the ego here. But some sort of journey that you've either been on or currently on, wherever it falls in your timeline, you might be breaking free of, I don't know, the way that people expect to see you, of that, like, we're, at least here in the States, my experience was like we're fed this idea of go to college, get the degree, get the job, get, 2.5 golden retrievers, and you will be happy. Equation complete. Uh, things go the way they go. And, you might discover that you're a cat person. You know, you want 3.5 cats or whatever. Or maybe you want a turtle named Sheldon. I don't know. Uh, Whatever fits for you, it's hard to break away from, even if it's not like explicitly said, like you must be, this leave it to beaver way. Sometimes there can be some really, um, okay, we're going with these, but there can be some really, like, kind of fervent expectations of you, just kind of lingering as like an underpinning to your whole life, even if it isn't explicitly said. But we've got the Two of Wands in reverse and the Moon in reverse. So more Cancer energy. So maybe you want to check out your Cancer placement. Huh. And that, like, at least in my case, that gets extra deep because my Cancer placement is Chiron. So a mother wound. I got the father and the mother archetype. Ooh, and then the Two of Wands. I'm going to riff a little bit on that idea since I brought up the animus. Maybe you're having a hard time unifying the animus and or anima within yourself. And I know that the way the Jungian ideas are presented as a binary between male and female. I like to think of my unconscious mind as having both an animus and an anima, and myself, that true authentic self, as like a genderless concept. Like, I don't know, it gets a little complicated. Like, I identify as a woman, and I'm just trying to get real meta about it, I guess. Like, the self is your essence, and then you have the animus and the anima qualities. Because it's hard to reconcile those ideas with our present understanding of gender and gender ideas and whatnot. So it can get real convoluted, I guess. But you've got the Two of Wands, which is, well, Two of Shards, Two of Wands, and that's the Two of Will, so the creative fire. But the way it's coming to mind is like the fire of self, like the fire of the soul, and they're split apart. So there's something keeping those two halves apart, and in this shattered, kind of fractured way, not like a yin and yang, like a harmonious, cyclical deal. Hmm, deep. Really was not expecting to get this deep. And this is in the ego, so this is also where the persona would fall. So the outermost part of our ego, how we interact with the external world. There's something fractured about how we're interacting with the external world. Are we afraid to show that authentic self, or are we protecting the authentic self? Because there's a lot of armor there, and like the claws, and that, while understandable, especially if you're trying to move past familial norms. Hmm. If you're trying to move past familial norms, it makes sense why you would want to protect that authentic self, like, like a baby bird. But after doing all that work to get in touch with the authentic self and move past those familial expectations, the next stage is to show that off, is to reveal to the world who you really are. And in this reading, the upright energy is the Chariot. So I think this is an in progress journey of you yourself have gotten in touch with the authentic self, but we haven't quite got to that point of showing that off to the external world. I know I have some of that in my personal life right now as I slowly but surely figure out who I can trust with coming out of the broom closet too. So it's a journey for sure. Hi, kitten. Yeah, just want some chicken. But the oracle card I pulled is Gaia 28. So a 10, a completion of a cycle. The frequency of Gaia reminds us that we are infinitely connected to one another, just as we are to our great mother and to the universe that birthed us all. So, this might be a good time to get out into nature, maybe before winter fully sets in. Some lunchtime walks in the park, something like that, before, the sun sets and it gets a little chilly. Or, I mean, if you really enjoy being really cold, do a night hike or something safely, of course. Don't get too cold. But overall, deep reading for your first one, Taurus, for the sign specific reading for you. But I hope this helps and I hope this resonates. And if it doesn't, I hope the next one does. Thank you so much.